Okay, we are doing it live. So this is the second time I recorded this video. I did a full walkthrough of this code notebook, and then I realized I wanted to rebuild some stuff, so I spent the past few days rebuilding and adding in some new functionality to it. I think it's a bit better, so I'm going to re-record it. Anyway, what were we talking about, James? So this is an OpenAI Swarms Agent generator. If you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know that Swarms is OpenAI's agentic framework. This is what it looks like. They have a repo where they talk about it. What it enables you to do is to create agents that work in teams to conduct actions and do stuff together. This is what it looks like. You'll have a user who wants to know what's the weather in New York. They will ask that question. That question will be picked up by an assistant and then triages that question to a weather assistant who is a specialist agent who is equipped with the weather, that information, and then passes that back to the user and says it's 67 degrees in New York. So that's a very, very basic agent setup. The Swarms repo by OpenAI has like a bunch of examples, and they're good examples, but they're also a little bit limited in some ways. So I decided to build my own auto generator for agents to sit within teams of OpenAI Swarm agents and to automate the process of building them, but also integrating that into the team. And why did I do that? Well, because when you think about agents, agents are basically collections of scripts through which you manage actions and you assign actions to specific AI-powered agents, where you basically just have the model running and doing stuff for you. And so this is what like an agent looks like. It's, at least in my case, 3 files: an agent file, a functions file, and a content file. And I'll come back to that a bit later. But the main point here is that if you think about building a team of agents, say you want 10 agents, you're going to have to create 3 or more files. That's let's say it's three files per agent. That's 30 files of scripts you're going to have to build. And say you want to get to 100, well, suddenly as you expand out the number of agents you want in a team, you're suddenly having to write a lot of code to build out that team. So what I thought it'd be cool if I could automate some of the process of creating those agents, and really to simplify it as much as possible so that I can give an instruction to the agent builder, just like a simple prompt, and it will build me an agent. So in this case, make me an agent that gets live flights info. And then what it does is it builds me an agent that is connected into a flights API to get that information. And again, the outcome of that is that you can very, very quickly build teams of agents. And in this case, it's for the OpenAI Swarm framework, which I really like, which is quite lightweight and kind of gives an opportunity to test these things and see how they work. And it works. Like, you can auto-generate agents, and I'll show you how to do that now. Anyway, so to start off with this, what you're going to need is an OpenAI API key. If you're watching this and know about code notebooks, by the way, I will share the code for this notebook in the description for this video. You should have an OpenAI key by now. I also recommend that you have an Anthropic API key and also that you have a Gina API key as well. And I'll talk about what each of those does. So OpenAI, you need it to run the Swarms framework. And we're also going to be using OpenAI models in the generation of these agents. An Anthropic key is important because actually Sonnet 3.5 is a very good coding model. And in some instances, we may actually want to use that instead of an OpenAI model to write some of the code or to generate some of the agents. And I'll talk about like a few of the instances there. And Gina is a really nice solution which enables extraction of information from web pages in formats that are very easy for AI models to process as well. This notebook, it's experimental. I'd say it works about 80 to 90% of the time. And how well it generates the agents really depends on your model selection. So far, I find that OpenAI's O1 preview reasoning model is the best generator of agents overall, but sometimes there can be a few errors within it, but I've built some fallbacks into that to overcome that. I'll take you all through it. Don't worry. I highly recommend that you watch the full video and go through the notebook with this video as you go through it. And hopefully as a result, even if you hate the agent generator, it will give you some ideas maybe around like how you might want to structure your agent files if you're building agents, especially within the OpenAI framework as well. Yeah, if you like this notebook or the repo, please give it a star. If you don't want to give it a star, that's cool as well. I've also given some links to some of the other resources I've got, like around introductions to OpenAI's agentic swarms. And yeah, anything else there? No. Okay, cool. So, first thing we're going to do is run our installs. So these are just the packages, so we'll run those. Brilliant. And now we're going to set up our OpenAI API key and our other API keys as well. So I give you instructions on how to do this. So basically, you should put your API key in the Colab secrets. And you can see these are all my API keys here. And what you should do to use this for this notebook, is to name your key like this, like just like that, and it will work for running all the model stuff. Also, as I said, you should have an Anthropic key and name it like this. And also you should grab a Gina API key as well. And I'll just show you what that looks like now. So to get your Gina API key, you can just go to API key and then here, and then this will show you. And literally, you don't even need to sign up or do anything with Gina. You just grab your API key from here. And again, in all of these cases, you just put that in your Colab secrets and name the keys just like this to do it as well. And again, you get your Anthropic API key from Anthropic as well. So what we're going to do now is just set up our API keys and just have them loaded in for the rest of the notebook. Next, we're going to clone the Swarm repository from GitHub. So that's the OpenAI repository, that's done. And now what we're going to do is create a base folder structure for our agents. And you'll see here that it's basically created a number of folders, a base common orchestrator. It's created those folders, and what I've also done with this, is you'll see here, when you clone the OpenAI repo, you get an examples folder, and this is where they have their example agents. And you'll see once you run this piece of code here, you'll see that a new folder has been added, which is called Magic. And this is my agent builder and the folder structure you need to run the scripts to generate the agents. And you'll see this is where the agents that we create will be stored and everything else really. I'll show you that a bit more in a minute. So now we're going to load in some scripts which effectively enable for the building of the agents and the management of the agents as well. I'm not going to talk through these in too much detail. You can read all about them if you want. I've given a description of what each one does. All you really need to do is run each one after the other. I'll just talk about this one, the orchestrator triage. The orchestrator is the agent that will field a user's queries and then pass those queries on to the agents that exist within the team. So that's what that does. And main.py, that's the file that we run to just start chatting with our agents as well. And we'll see when we use that in a minute. We also have an agent loader script, which loads the agents that we've created. And then finally, we're going to create our agent directory, our folder, which our agents are going to live in. And we can have a look at that here. So we see now we've got the agents folder, and that's where the agents will live. There's nothing in there right now, but you'll see that the agents populate in there. Okay, so that's the setup for the generator. Most of it, there's a little bit more we need to do. We'll come to that in a second. First thing we're going to do is we're going to manually create an agent to just walk us through what we are creating and what each of the respective files does for the agent. So when I'm creating agents for this, I base them around three files: agent.py, functions.py, and content.py. And we'll see what those look like with a very simple example. And that simple example is making a knock knock joke specialist agent. So the first thing we need to do is create the folder for our agent, and you'll see once we've done that, there we go. That's where our agent is going to live. Everything we have for this agent is going to live within that. Create an init file. Don't worry about that. Then content py, and you can see what content py does. So for this agent, we're not calling any information from the internet. We are just hard coding some jokes in. This is a very simple agent, but you'll see here the content is like the information or the content that the agent has in this case. So it's got some jokes in it. So we're just going to run that and create that. Then we are going to run our functions, and these are effectively what the agent can do. So not the instructions for the agent, but the capabilities or the skills that the agent has, basically. So it can tell a knock-knock joke. And there's also some rules in here around resetting the memory or selecting and marking a joke as told. Finally, we have our agent.py file, and this is kind of the body of the agent, I would class it. And what we can also see in here is this is where the instructions, so the prompt instructions, live for the agent. So it says you're a knock-knock joke specialist. Your job is to get a new knock-knock joke using tell knock-knock joke, present the setup. Basically, it's the instructions on how to tell a joke. So we've run that. Now we're going to run the agent and see how it does. So we're going to just do a bit of styling for the chat interface. And then we can see here, this is our agent. And I'll zoom in a bit for this. Oh, not too much. So I'm going to say, hello. What can you do for me? I can help direct you to the appropriate specialist agents. If you have a request or question related to knock-knock jokes, yes, let's hear a joke. Hi there, let's get started with a knock-knock joke. Knock-knock. Who's there? Oops, I think that might be a small misunderstanding. Let's try that again. Oh, because I just wrote who's there. Who's there? Boo. Waits for your response. Boo hoo. Don't cry, it's just a joke. Would you like to hear another knock-knock joke? Yes, please. Anyway, we can see now it's gone back into the chain, telling a knock-knock joke. Very basic agent, a knock-knock joke agent. Cool. So we're just going to stop that running. So we interrupt the execution and that stopped the agent running. But there we go. We built our first agent, 3 files, pretty simple. I have also built some pre-existing agents that we can load in as well. And these are called from my GitHub repo, where I've built some example agents. So we can have a look at pulling one of those in as well and seeing how that fits in the team. So we've got a knock-knock agent in here. Let's go with the exchange rates finder. So we're going to download that agent. And we see that agent is downloaded. And if we go to the folder, we can see this agent is now in there as well. And we can now go up and we can rerun our agent script again and see if that one is loaded in okay. And there we can see we've got the knock-knock joke agent and the exchange rates finder. I can go, what can you do for me? Okay, knock-knock joke or exchange rate information. Let's get some rates. Okay, so it says, sure, let's retrieve a list of all available currencies. Here's your list of currencies. How many GBP do I get if I exchange 290 USD? So this agent is calling from a live web API. So it says current exchange rate is 0.815. So if you exchange 290 USD, you get approximately £230. Great. I can say, what is the current value of Bitcoin in USD? So here we go. 1 Bitcoin is worth approximately 98,000. So again, that's calling in live information from a foreign exchange rate API. So yeah, if you want to test some of those existing agents I've built, oh, of course, let's root it out. This is the important thing to see how's it work like a team. How's it work as a team? Actually, now can I hear a joke? So it should route us out to the joke agent now. Great, let's switch some phone. Yep, knock knock. Who is there? Orange. Orange. Who? Orange, you glad I didn't say banana. So again, we can see the team is integrated. Those two agents are working together. So I'm just going to interrupt the execution there. Fine, and that stopped that. So yeah, so we have manually loaded in the scripts for an agent. And when I created that knock knock joke agent originally, I wrote all the code for that. And yeah, you can do that. But what we're now interested in doing is auto-generating agents. And this is what we move on to now. So we have our auto-generator scripts. And as I said before, our agents, at least in my approach, consist of 3 files: content.py, agent.py, and functions.py. So in order to generate agents, I have created base templates for each of these files, which we then use the generator to populate. So we've got our blank content.py agent template, our agent.py template, our init file template, and then our functions template as well. So you just click all of those, run them in, and then they're loaded in to be populated. So that's that. So now what we're going to do is, in order to build an agent, we need to have a specification, a description of what the agent should do. And depending on what we want it to do, if we want it to get information from a live web service, like in the case of the foreign exchange rate agent we just saw, we're going to need to give it some documentation to help it build whatever we want it to do. And then we're going to need to create a description of what the agent should do. What's its main purpose? So in order to do this, I have created some basic API texts for you to test out in this. In this instance, you're more than welcome to go and get your own texts to try and do this, but just keep it simple and so you can test this. I've tried to supply as much as I possibly can. And what I would say at this stage is the agent builder is experimental, and it mostly only works with non-authenticated APIs, so ones that you don't need an API key for. I do have a version that does work with authenticated APIs. It's a little bit more complicated in how it works. I'm going to share that a bit later, not in this video, but in a subsequent video. And I'm actually upgrading some of the capabilities there to make it a little bit easier. Anyway, for the purpose of this, at this stage, we're going to need some API text. So what I've done here is, I'm going to hide this, but you can see basically I've grabbed some API text. There's some documents with various API informations in here. I'm going to hide view. I'm going to hide the code there, but we can see we've got an Arxiv API documentation, a cocktail maker API, the foreign exchange rate API documentation, NASA API, and a trivia API as well. And all of these are available within the Magic folder now here. So for example, for the NASA API documentation, just click on that, and there we go. That's the documentation. And I'll show you how we need that. So now we go on to get API docs to build agent. So we have some example API docs, which I'm going to show you how we can use. But I've also built in a variety of other ways in which you can upload API documentation, if you will. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So the simplest approach is to copy paste the documentation from a web page and paste it into a free text box, which I'll show you. You can also upload PDF documents. You can also upload text files, Word documents. You can load from a Google Docs if you want. And you can also use Gene as a web API text extraction service. And so I'll show you what this looks like. It's a long script. Here we go. Right. The first thing we're going to do is name our agent. we can call this one trivia master. And as you can see here, there's a variety of ways in which you can upload API documentation. So you can do it via Google Sheet. You can upload it from URLs, and I'll show you how that works in a second. You can upload PDFs, you can upload Word documents, text files. You can load it from a Google Doc, or you can do free text input here. And what I'll show you quickly is the Gina extraction method. We're going to grab API documentation from this page. We just put the URL into there, and then we run process all inputs. You can see it says agent name trivia master. Okay, and we can see here that if we go to agents, we can see we have our trivia master folder, and we see there's the folder API docs, and we can see this is the extracted information from that page which Gina grabbed for us. So we can use that to then build the trivia master. I've already got a trivia master agent, so I'm actually not going to build this one right now. Instead, what I'm going to do is delete that one out, and we're going to build a NASA agent instead. Okay, so I deleted out the trivia master agent. I'll show you how to delete our agents. I built a tool for that. I'll show you that a little bit further down. Instead, now what we're going to do is build our NASA info agent. So we call it NASA info. And then if we look at the pre-prepared API texts that I saved, we can see we've got the NASA API documentation here. So we're just going to copy paste that. And then we're going to close this. And in the free text field, we just paste that documentation in, and we say process all inputs. And if we go back to here, we can see that in agents, we have our NASA folder. If we click into that, we've got API docs, and we can see our API documentation that we just uploaded has been saved there. Now what we're going to do is load some examples of good agents and best practices, and these are agents that I've created in the past, and we load these in because these are loaded into the generator when it's creating the agents, so it's got good examples of agents to build. I'm going to hide that. And now after we've done that, we are going to run our agent specification generator. So we run this, and what this is going to do is use an AI model to process the API documentation we uploaded, in addition to just some basic instructions that we give it, and then that generates a technical specification for the agent. So I'll scroll down. Cool. So if we have a look in here, we can see we've got agents to select it. And we're going to select our NASA agent. And the model we're going to use for this is actually OpenAI O1 Preview. And we're going to say, create a helpful agent that gets information from the free NASA API service. It helps the user get pictures of the day, pictures of from the Mars rover, and makes full use of any other available information from the NASA API. Always greet the user with an explanation of what you can do. So that's our instruction, and we create our specification. And here we can see now the O1 Preview is going to generate our technical specification for the agent. Cool. And there's our specification. And all we need to do here is just select all, Control A, Control C, and copy that. And then what we're going to do next is define our agent specification. So in the previous step, we used an AI model to write our technical specification. This is like new functionality I added in because actually I found by getting O1 Preview, OpenAI O1 Preview to write the specification with the API documentation, I was getting like more successful builds. So what we do now is we run the generator and, the specification setter. We're going to select our NASA info agent and we just paste in that specification. And then we're going to save the specification here. And that's it. That's our specification saved. And if we go into here, agents, if we go into NASA info, we can see we have our specification doc folder. And we can see that the specification has been added in there. Brilliant. Now we are ready to generate our agent. So we run this code here. And we can see we've got the build agent solution. So what we're going to do is select our agent, the NASA info agent. And the model we're going to use for this is O1 Preview. And the reason we use O1 Preview is because it's a long context model. It can take a lot of context in, information in, and it can also produce a lot of context or tokens. And we need it to produce a lot of tokens because we want it to generate the scripts that we need altogether because that gives the highest level of consistency. So we selected our model and then what we do is we press generate and we let it do its thing. Now, before I press generate, one thing I will say, I'm expecting this to make an error. And if it does make an error, that's fine. Something else I would say is there is a selection of models here. You probably can't see it in this video, but there is a drop down where you can choose between OpenAI O1 Preview, O1 Mini, Anthropic, Sonnet, Claude Sonnet 3.5, and even the OpenAI new O3 models as well. Overall, I find O1 Preview is very reliable. The only error it sometimes tends to make is sometimes when it's writing code, it puts invalid text commentary in there. But that's okay. If it happens, I have built a solution for that as well. And we are going to run through that if it happens. Cool, let's see if it works. Okay, so the agent has generated, and I'm actually not seeing the typical error that I would expect to see when I'm using O1 Preview. As I said, sometimes O1 Preview can write code with non-valid Python code, and again, I've got a checker to fix for that. What it has, the errors that I'm seeing here is that there are some issues with getting information back from the API. That's okay because the agent can't query the API itself. It needs us to provide the inputs. So generally we should be okay here. So you see here I put in something here. Oh no, I see errors. And I give an explanation of common errors and how to overcome them and the tools I've built. But in all instances where once we've done an initial build, the first thing we should really try to do is just test the agent, see if it works. So we're going to run that here and see if it works. And here we can see the NASA agent has loaded in. So let's see. Hello, what can you do for me? Brilliant. Okay. So it says knock knock jokes, exchange rates, and NASA information. Let's see if it can get us the NASA information. Let's get some NASA info. Okay, so what can I do? Hi, I'm your NASA info specialist. I can help you with the following services: astronomy picture of the day, Mars rover photos, Earth imagery, near Earth object data, space weather events. Let me know what you'd like. Let's try and get the picture of the day. Let's have the picture of the day. Okay, here's our picture of the day. Yes, it did it. Brilliant. It's got the explanation, it's got the picture, and we click on it. That takes us through to the picture of the day. What a beautiful picture. let's see what else can do. Okay. Can you get me yesterday's picture? Okay, let's see yesterday's picture. There we go. There's yesterday's picture. Brilliant. Okay. How about Mars rover pictures? Okay, right. So it says, I can help you explore Mars rover photos based on various criteria. You can provide me with the rover name, Earth date, Sol. Let's just go. Oh, okay. Rover, Curiosity, Opportunity, Spirit. Let's go Spirit today. Or, yeah, let's see if they've got anything from today. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. Okay, so there's no available photos from today. Okay, are there any Mars rover pictures from yesterday? Okay, so it says, here are some photos from Curiosity rover on October 8th, 2023. So there's some pictures there. What's quite interesting here is you'll notice it's using the wrong date because it's using the date the O1 preview has its knowledge cutoff up to. So actually, let's ask it for a more recent picture. Can you get me Mars rover picture for the 4th of Feb 2025? Unfortunately, there were no photos available from Opportunity Spirit rovers on that day. Up here it says, here are some images captured by rover February 4th, 2025. Okay. And there we go. Lovely. Lovely. What a beautiful picture. Anyway, we can see that works. And we can test the other endpoints. In the purpose of time, I'm not going to go into all of them. One thing I'm going to test is, does it route us out someone to one of the other agents? Let's see. I want to know foreign exchange rates. And there we go. We've been moved across to our foreign exchange rate specialist. What is the price of Ethereum? May not do this one. Let's see. I asked it Bitcoin last time. Let's see if it will do Ethereum. For cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, you would typically need a financial crypto service. I can assist you with exchange rates between traditional fiat currencies. Okay, what currencies can you support? USD, GBP, GBP. It says Ethereum. Can you get the price of ETH in USD? Okay, there we go. The current exchange rate for Ethereum to US dollars is 200. We got there in the end. Great. And finally, a joke, please. And there we are, routed through to our joke specialist. I'm going to spare you the pain of another knock joke. But as we can see, that was a NASA agent built in a matter of seconds, maybe a minute or two, fully integrated with NASA's live web API services, also integrated into our Swarms team as well. And I'll stop running that here. So we didn't get an opportunity to demo it, but I've also built in some fixers or repair tools in this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few more agents in separate videos which will show the syntax error fixer and the other error fixer. I'm not going to do it tonight, but I'll show you what they look like. But generally, how they work. We'll see how it works generally. So here, what it does is when we use O1 Preview and say it generates illegitimate or incorrect non-Python characters, we can run this checker to just check, are there those kind of characters in files? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our NASA agent, we're going to use Anthropic Claude 3.5, and we're just going to check the files and see what it says. No problems found in any of those files. If there were problems found, what we would do is we would select the file that has the issue in, and we just select it and we hit regenerate selected, and what it does is it reproduces and cleans that script so it's functioning, and it works really, really well. The other thing I built in is a general error checker and fixer. And what that does is if you get another kind of error or you don't like the behavior of your agent, what you can do is you can copy paste in any error codes that come through, or say it goes wrong, like while you're speaking to it, or API endpoints aren't working. You can just literally copy the error from the chat, put it into the error details, and you can select your model. You obviously need to select your agent, and then what you do is you just run the check. And what this does is it uses Sonnet 3.5 to check that file, identify any major issues with it which are preventing it from working, and then what you can do is you can select, based on the errors that exist, you can select the files to regenerate and to fix, and then you just run it and it will regenerate those files and it will fix the agent for you. Sometimes it needs a couple of runs of the fixes, but so far I've had 100% success rate with fixing agents. And then once you fix them, you can then rerun the agents using this code here. Finally, something else I've added in is a script to download your agents. So, you've been through the steps to build a NASA agent or what have you. All you need to do, run that script. And what that does is it just downloads your agents, saves it to a folder in your downloads folder. And then what you can do is using Google Drive, if you want to come back and play with this and use pre-existing agents you've built, you can just load them back in, save them in the agents folder in here, upload them and save them into here. So you would just go to here and you would go upload, and then you reload your agents in and you're fine. Finally, if you want to delete any agents you've created, you run this code and you can see here, you can select an agent to delete. So in this case, I'm going to delete the knock agent. So just go delete files. And what that does is it doesn't delete the whole agent. Actually, it probably will do in this instance. But what it does is it preserves the API documentation and the original specification for an agent. And the reason I've kind of kept those in is because sometimes, like, you generate an agent, doesn't work out exactly how you want it to, but you actually want to keep using the original API documentation. Maybe you want to amend it. I've keep those in there, and then you can rebuild or regenerate your agent based on a different description. You can figure it out basically. And then finally, all you need to do is interrupt or disconnect and delete your runtime when you're done. And that's it. You've stopped running. One last thing that I've also added into this is an alternative way to generate your agents. I used to use this method as like the main way to do it, but I moved to the other method using O1 Preview. So this older version, what it would do is it would generate each of the agent scripts one at a time, using Sonnet 3.5 because that was the best model available to do that. It works, but I found it's more prone to errors, and actually what is better is the new version where you use O1 Preview, which is more capable of just producing more code in a single pass. So for any reason, if you want to explore this version, you're more than welcome to, but I would say for the moment you should be good with everything else that is in this notebook. And that's it really. So there's a lot in this notebook. If you're interested in OpenAI swarms and you want to build swarm agents, this I think is a great way to get started to automate some of that. Hopefully as well, you may get some ideas around structuring your agents and having a standardized approach to building them, because actually I think it's a good way to go. I also think it's amazing that AI can actually auto-generate these things as well. And I hope you find it useful. If you do find it useful, please let me know. Feel free to like the video if you don't like it, whatever, don't mind. If you want to connect with me, here's my LinkedIn details here. And yeah, drop me a line. And yeah, hopefully this has been useful, and I'm looking forward to catching you in the next one. Bye.